I'm not seeing it on YouTube yet. Yeah, man, we always do this. We simulcast on YouTube and Facebook, and then later on, whenever I end up getting time, I actually put it on podcast stuff too. So it's in like 9 different forms or something. I think last month, just the Facebook page alone got to like 32,000 people or something like that, like as far as views or something.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Oh, here we go. Yep.
What's going on, everybody? George here, Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. Hey, hope everybody's having a good day. It's Tuesday, and you know how we do it on Tuesdays. We always have a live show for you guys. And we got a special guest today, hopefully you guys will get a chance to know this guy here. He's well known. I've known him for a long time, even if he probably doesn't know me. Hey, I feel like I know him. I bet a lot of people kind of get in that situation with the World Wide Web and things like that. So, Casey, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot, man. There isn't a whole lot to speak of this weekend. Went racing, went to Galat in second round, ran into a 11-pack wall both days, man. So there is not a lot to speak about as far as that goes, other than I did get the car fixed over the course of 2 days, 100-plus degree temperatures in a back half door car. Got everything repeating within 5 thou. So got that finally figured out. That was the main goal of the weekend. Would have been nice to run anyone other than I ran in those first couple rounds. But no, man, that's pretty much all that went on this weekend. But I did get one thing handled, George. While I was waiting on them to decide if they were going to do a gambler's race on Friday, I talked to Gary Don over at Drag Champ, and we're going to start a new segment on the GBR YouTube channel over here called the Drag Champ Minute. And what it's going to be is it's going to be on here every single week. It's going to be an update of what happened throughout the week, just a little 1-minute video clip, and kind of telling us what's happening within our sector of racing over on the Drag Champ magazine website, Facebook page, anywhere you can see Drag Champ type stuff. This means bracket racing, big money racing, class racing, whatever big stories you've heard about the week. Jeff Serra being one of them this week, I'm sure. So, George, roll the Drag Champ Minute and let everybody see what we're talking about here.
Sounds good to me. Hang in there, guys. When we come back, we'll have a guest on with us. Get those questions ready. And hang on just a second here.
What's up, guys? Gary Don here, bringing you the Drag Champ Minute, the best of bracket racing. So who's hot this week? Jeff Serra is putting his name into one of the greatest of all time. This dude has been hot, and Friday night at the Summer Fling in Ohio, dude runs himself in the final of 100K. Jeff's coming off 1 week span here just a few weeks ago where he won a 75 grander at Virginia, turned around and run it up to 40Ks. He won a 20K earlier in the year. So Jeff Serra is what's hot right now. Right on his heels, though, Garrett Griffith. It may not put together the whole season, but this young man driving his door truck drove to 3 wins in about 5 days. I think last weekend at Edgewater, he won 10K on Friday, 10K on Sunday, turned around and won the Summer Fling 15K on Wednesday. So Garrett Griffith gets some notoriety this week, as well as the Drag Champ Top 10 winner last week, Steve Collier, who won 3 times over the weekend. He doubled up on Saturday, won again on Sunday. So Steve Collier, Garrett Griffith, and Jeff Serra are what's hot in bracket racing this week. Make sure to follow dragchamp.com for all the best bracket racing news, results, and info.
All right, guys. Hey, certainly big shout out over there to Drag Champ. Thanks for doing that for us. We look forward to showing that to everybody in the drag racing world weekly here on the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. If you hadn't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page there. Like and subscribe. Share it with your buddies. It'll give you a notification when we go live and things of that nature. But without further ado, and so I don't capture too much of this busy man's time, I know that there's an unfamiliar face on the screen here. You might know him as Champ. Everybody knows Champ's performance, and if you don't, well, you're about to. We're going to introduce you to what is the backbone of Champ's performance online, Mr. Stephen McCrory himself. Stephen, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. How are y'all?
Doing good, doing
So
good.
far, so good, man.
I have no complaints. Did you get a chance to do any racing this week?
Oh, no. I've only been 3 times this year so far.
Oh, now that doesn't sound right. I'm sure there's a story behind that. I'm sure there's a story behind it, huh?
Honestly, I just took my car to the body shop this winter, and it took a little longer than expected. So I just decided I'm going to take this year off and chill.
Yeah, I get you too, and it seems to be the norm right now with COVID and shutting everything down and slowing everything up. People can't find parts, but can they? Is what we're going to get at within this particular stream, and I'm pretty sure Going Bracket Racing is going to deliver a way for you guys to find those parts that you really can't find, or at least have a better shot at it, from what I'm starting to understand here pretty quickly. So before I get rolling, I always ask this question to everybody on the stream. Champ, how did you get involved in bracket racing?
I got involved in bracket racing from the very start. My dad started racing back in the, he street raced back when he was a teenager, and then got into bracket racing in the early 80s, and I was born right into it. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And I know I've watched you race several times on either by Motor Mania or being at the drag strip with you. Can you attribute most of your skills to watching your old man come up, or did you it's just natural born, you didn't have to watch too much, or how'd you get them?
Man, when I was a kid, that's all I did. I watched racing. I lived racing. I stayed on a practice tree 24/7. I played with Hot Wheels. I mean, when I could issue, I started racing tractors. I lived racing.
Yeah, man, we got a lot in common in there, and I'm sure Casey will actually share that with us too. Before we keep moving here, Lorenzo Martin, thanks a lot for what you do over there at the North Carolina Bracket Racing Facebook page. Thanks for sharing us on your platforms. What's up, Kevin Griner? I see you out there. Guys, feel free to ask those questions, and we'll definitely ask Champ as we can. But yeah, Champ, I remember my dad came home. I had a little 10-speed bike. It was pretty nice, and I took some pipes or some little BO tubes he had laying around, and maybe a wheelie bar and a parachute to throw off the back of that joker. And man, we get two stopwatches and just dial your car in, or your bike, I should say, your legs, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna find a way to drag race.
Race bikes and all that good stuff too.
I had a few wrecks. I don't know about you.
I was a three-wheeler man. Myself, and I had figured out that if you push the shift lever all the way down, they're semi-automatic, and you just lift it up about second gear, you can ride you a wheelie about past the 60 foot.
No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so pretty interesting to hear. Go ahead.
I kind of think that a lot of the people on here remember you because, like you said, your car's in the body shop. They remember you from that 7-second Firebird and kind of going round after round after round, a lot of these big money races. And on GBR, we like to talk a lot about, because you go to these big money races, you know it better than anybody, Champ. You go to these big money races, it looks like it takes big money to run these big money races. And it might for the entry fee, but you don't need that big stacker trailer and these blown 420 dragsters and all this stuff. I mean, you've won more rounds than anybody. So tell us a little bit about that car.
That car was just a regular street car my dad bought in 1986. He won the Sportsman Track Championship with it pretty much as a bone stock car, and then started doing upgrades and stuff to it since then. And he raced it all through the 90s and in early 2000s. And when I came into racing in 2006, I started driving it a little bit. And then I got hooked up with all these guys with dragsters, and that was way cooler when I was younger. Now that I've gotten in my 30s now, I like the door car scene a lot better. So now I'm bringing it back out and racing it a lot more.
I can relate to that 100%, man, because I got 2 door cars now, and I've ran just as many passes in fast dragsters as anybody. And I'm in the exact same realm, man. It's just, I feel like you can relate to them better. They're just so much easier to mess with, in my opinion. They're not as easy to work on. But they're easy to get to the track, unload them, drive them around the pits. Just all the 90% of the stuff.
Nicer to me at the track, but like you said, you got to pull a transmission or something. It's a lot worse.
A lot worse, especially whenever it's a back half door car, a real door car with a real firewall and stuff like that.
Look at there.
But so let me ask you this, man. So it seemed like you still, after you were hitting it pretty good in that Trans Am, and you know, you had won the money where you could have just started running these big dragsters and stuff like that. Why'd you choose to keep running that car?
Like I said, it's been in the family for so long, and I've known it so well, and it's really good. I just like being a little different, I guess. It makes it a little more interesting to me.
That's true, man. Is it difficult to? We were talking about this. I don't know how much you've seen of the GBR YouTube channel, but we had Fast and Fincham on here a few episodes back, maybe a month or so ago, and we were talking to him because of course, he does a lot more foot braking, you know, and you do a lot more top bowl. But how difficult is it to get a 7-second door car to be competitive with your big money bracket racing dragsters that are running 440s nowadays? Is it tough, or is it just kind of, you know, whatever you kind of pick for your poison?
It's a little tougher in certain ways. You're on the track a lot longer, so you got more variables. When the air changes, it's going to move a little more because, like I said, I mean, the fact that you're on the track for 3 seconds longer, the air is affecting you more in the long run. You know what I mean? But I think pretty much from selling parts, anybody can buy a tire, converter, and carburetor and go out on the track and be competitive in 2021. You know, it's just become that kind of market now where you just call, pick up the phone, pick up, you know, any parts that you need, and you can be competitive.
So you kind of think, I guess, that it's not necessarily the size of your wallet that matters. It's more of a do you know the right guy to get you there? And if you got $500 or $5,000,
Yep.
it's you just got to stay within your realm type thing.
Yep. If you just buy the key parts that make the car consistent, then you ain't got to have the nicest, most expensive everything out there. You just got to have the right stuff in the right places.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, and you know, certainly things to keep in mind. You guys going through these Facebook drag racing for sales, all these drag racing car parts, Facebook pages, and things of that nature. You know, some of that stuff is really good when it comes down to it. Half the time you'll see Scotty Richardson or some of these other big name drag racers selling something on those sites, and if you get your hands on one of those cars, of course you know they're going to be set up to the 9 to where you can do some serious racing in it. But there's still going to be some other cars out there that may not be quite as expensive and definitely isn't as nice that you can be just as competitive in. And so I guess we'll go here to this next question, and it is, what do you think is the most important component to winning a bracket racing, to a winning bracket racing program? Component-wise, anything you can think of that would make one successful.
Do you mean race car-wise, or do you mean driver-wise?
I'd say let's do both. Yeah, let's do both. And so let's call it the two things: one for drag racing of the car, and one for drag racer of the driver.
Like I said, honestly, for the drag car, you got 3 main components, and that was what I just named: tire, converter, carburetor. You get all that where it should be, and the car's going to be something you can win in, you know? As far as a driver, I think it's just consistency going to the track, being there, making runs, getting laps under your belt. The more chances you give yourself to, you know, win, the better you're going to come out. You're going to lose more, but you're going to have more chances to win. So, yeah.
And like you mentioned before, and we always mention here on the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel, you hit the tree like it was nothing when you were growing up, and I can agree with that 100%. As everybody knows, if you follow the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel, I was not a junior dragster racer. I was more so of the kid who didn't have a race car or the means to have one. And and there's always been a practice tree in my living room. All I had to do was plug that joker up and figure out how to use the delay box. And from there, that was my way of drag racing forever. I'd make the noises and everything. I probably had 10 gears at times. I know race cars don't have 10 gears, but I was making as much noise as possible. Fast and Furious. As best as I could. So, no, man, that's certainly some good information to know, for sure.
Definitely, man. But here's something that we wanted to talk to you about, because this is what's really confusing. One of the first people I ever met whenever I moved to North Carolina was Dylan Champion, who I started calling Champ just by happenstance because his last name was Champion. And then he's always talked about Champ, Stephen McCrory. So it's starting to get confusing, and I feel like I need to call you Big Champ and him something else, but he's such a big dude, I can't call you Big Champ. So I don't even know what to do at this point. I can't call him Dylan. Yeah, old champ, yeah. So, but anyway, man, he's always been telling me about Chance Performance. Got to go to Chance Performance. Got to go to Chance Performance. Well, I finally got to the point I'm getting some stuff together because of all the parts shortages and things like that. I'm trying to order stuff early to freshen up my 468 and the Nova this winter. I'm putting some aluminum heads on it, things like that. I figured if I'm doing this, that, and the other, well, I'm just going to piece things together as I go. So I have it all whenever I'm getting ready to do it, and I don't have to worry about, oh yeah, well, we can't get your lifters until March, and then now you're halfway there. So long story short, I couldn't find the lifters I wanted. Couldn't find them from Summit. Couldn't find them from Jags. Everybody's out of stock. Called Champ. Hey man, here's a part number. Can you get me these? Not only did he get me them cheaper than everybody else, they also showed up in 2 days.
Yeah,
whenever nobody else even had them in stock.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just got done looking through the chat, and George Hoff is in the chat right now on the YouTube side, and he said you need the parts. Champ can get them. Not only that, they'll be to your door in 2 days. So obviously, that's a fact. You might as well call that man 2-day champ or something. He's gonna get it to you fast.
Maybe that's an idea. But Champ, tell us a little bit about Champ's Performance and what kind of parts can you get, and what drove you to, I guess, start a business within the industry of drag racing.
I mean, obviously, if you're a traveling racer all the time, you don't get to live a normal life. So you want something that is involved in the racing world, So that was a dream early. And actually, when FTI was in the early stages getting going, I went and worked in the office for a little while over there. And I started seeing these, dealer programs and WD pricing and thinking about this and that. And I'm like, man, I know so many people. I could sell this stuff and I could make more in, one transmission sale than I've been making in a week here, I can do that in about 30 minutes. So that's what ended up getting me started on it. I worked at FTI for about 2.5 months, and then went back on the road racing some more, and then started working on getting my business license and all that good stuff. And went to PRI that December and got set up with a bunch of different vendors direct, and just started building it from there.
Awesome.
We sell. I mean, honestly, I can get my hands on 1,000+ lines of products. Anything that's in the performance industry, I can pretty much get my hands on. So there's not anything out there that I shouldn't be able to get. With a few things. There's a few exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, anything that your performance car need, anything a sportsman racer is going to need, I can get my hands on. So
exactly, and that's what I've always heard, man. Is like legitimately, Dylan always told me all the time. He's like, just hit Champ up before you order it anywhere else, because like George Hoff said, not only will it more than likely be cheaper, it's going to get to you faster. You're not going to have to pay for shipping over $100. Is that right?
Yeah, $100 is free shipping. Anything over that comes to you free in a couple days.
Awesome, man. You can't beat that, right, George?
No, you can't beat it with a stick. And actually, while we're sitting here going live, I'm actually tagging your Facebook site into the stream here. That way, everybody, if you see that at Champs Performance, head over to that Facebook page, and at least you'll have reference to where you need to go for parts whenever. Matter of fact, just look there first. I know I got it on a Jags hat and everything, but look on Champs first. All right, you won't be mad at me when you look at Champs first. So he's got everything over there, guys. But definitely. So Champ, I got another question for you here too, and everybody knows. Or at least somebody has the feeling or the thought process that they want to become a drag racer or race in the industry for a living. What do you think that takes nowadays? Is it just a boatload of money in your bank account? Is it the right people behind you? What do you think it takes to become that quote unquote hired gun or racer for a living?
Yeah, there's not going to be many sponsors that are going to pay for a whole year's worth of racing, for you. If you get lucky enough to race for somebody that will do that, if you don't have the bank account for it. But yeah, I mean, you're going to have some money set to the side. And I mean, I would recommend it.
Yeah. And here's a comment from the chat for you too. Brad Gephardt. I guess I've known this guy a really long time. Me and Brad Gephardt, we go way back here. He says, "Hey, Chump in the house." Does he always call you Chump? Anyway, I wouldn't take that from Brad. Anyway, he said, I thought he retired like me. I thought you retired too, Brad, but it looks like you back out there in a little sunbird. So,
me and Brad, we started traveling around racing on hitting the bracket scene kind of together there for a little while.
Right.
Both racing for a guy out of Alabama, so.
Right. I'll never forget the day Brad and I, we went to St. Louis, and it was an NHRA race. Brad was running Super Comp, and man, he was gonna win that thing. We took it to the semifinals, and a little water got on the track, and it kind of slid him out down there at the bottom. Luckily, he's a good driver, so he didn't wreck the beautiful old Mullis named Erica. That was the nicest Mullis car I think I've ever seen. But he didn't put it into the wall. That was pretty neat. But yeah, that's pretty cool. You guys, we kind of traveled the same circles a little bit. You know, Brad being from Illinois, I'm from Illinois, and we run around for a while. Yep.
So, Champ, if money was no object and you could build like your ultimate bracket car for next year, 2022, coming out of retirement, Champ's coming out of retirement, going to set the world on fire like Jeff Serra is right now. What are you going to build, and why are you going to build it?
I would definitely build it. I would probably take my door car and just make a few more upgrades to it and stay on the slow side. I would want to go like 680s or 90s just because I got to put it, but I got to put a full cage, and there's just a lot. It's a long process to go through all that. So that's why we still stay in the 730, 40 range. But I would also build a new dragster of some sort. I really don't have a chassis brand Phantom's what we've been running the most in the last 10 years or so, but since about 2010, and they're still my favorite, but they're not building them, all the time anymore. So any dragster, and I would probably want to go 430s and 40s right in that range with it.
And why do you, so
in the slow side of the door cars?
That's what I was going to ask. So you want to be on the slow side of the door cars and the fast side of the dragsters. You perceive that as some sort of advantage or something? Why would you pick those particular ETs? Like, why would you want to be, I guess, on the slow side in the door car class, because they obviously divvy them up? Why would you want to be slow in one but yet fast in the other?
I think it's just preference. The run happens so fast in the dragster. It's nice when it's happening in front of you. When you're going slow in the door car, you got all day to think about it. And a lot of people get flustered with how slow that I go in that car. So, and I see it every single run, every single round, and I know what it's supposed to look like. And then they get into a situation where they're kind of guessing a little bit. So it's a little bit of an advantage for me, I feel like, in some situations.
That makes sense. And we could go back to, Fincham's comment was he just needed a little more time to think about if he hit the tree or not. But we all see his videos. He's about triple O every single time, foot braking. So that's probably not the case.
But it makes a lot of sense. It definitely does. I never really looked at it in that light. Me being a 590 door truck rule, by the way, just saying. It seems to me, and I don't know, this is off subject. This is definitely not on the script. But Champ, is it just me, or are door trucks just taking over drag racing currently? I know there's not the big money. The big money scene isn't really getting dominated as much. But every time I scroll through Facebook, there's at least, especially on the weekends, at least 2 or 3 door trucks that said, "Hey, winner, chicken dinner. I got it taken care of."
They're really good. It takes a little, get them set up. It takes a little bit of work, but once you get them transferring the weight good and working good, the trucks are awesome, man. You can see out of them great. I drove a truck for a year, a little S10 that went like 6.016s, and that was probably one of my favorite door cars ever. I mean, it did a big wheelie, had a good time, and they're really consistent, and you can see out of them good.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that one. And firsthand, you can see out of them. I told you that, Casey. You asked me, I don't know how many years you asked me in a row when I was on the hunt for a race car that I'd already found in the first place. It just wasn't for sale yet. But you said, "Why do you want one of them door trucks?" I said, "Man, you can see everything. You don't have to try anything to see the opponent. You just look, and he's there, bright as day." So
Dawson Pulley over here in the chat, Dawson Polly, says it's like driving a fishbowl around in a door truck.
Hey, here's one for you, Champ. Brandon Taylor says, "Champ's good at messing head gaskets also." I guess you messed up some head gaskets by hitting the nitrous button on the 2-step. Oh, brother.
I blew him my Pontiac motor one time.
Man, they're calling you out. They're calling you out in the chat. Oh, gosh, they're calling you out in the chat, man. Brandon Taylor and Head Gaskets. Brad Gephardt and Brandon Taylor kind of going back and forth there, so I'm pretty sure you ran with them.
I drive Brandon stuff as much as anybody's. I'm hard on stuff. He knows it.
No, man. I'm sorry I got off subject there, but and this question, I'm pretty sure people are asking this everywhere. Of course, we're going to ask it here at Going Bracket Racing. As far as for mega money, big money bracket racing, the scene is becoming so saturated, in my opinion. What do you think about the status of big money bracket racing? I mean, is there anything that needs to change in your idea, or keep it going? I mean, I love watching it on Motor Mania. I'm just a keyboard warrior at that point. You know, I don't quite have the budget to do as much big money bracket racing as I'd like to. But what do you think, champ?
I think I'm torn on that subject. I feel like they're not as special as they used to be. Like there used to be just a few races that you went to that were prestigious and everybody wanted to win. That was the ones you got, hyped up for that year. Now it's like every weekend. So, I mean, yeah, you see somebody win $100,000 or something and you're like, hey, well, that was cool. It's not like it don't have the same feel that it used to. But at the same time, as a racer yourself, you want to go race for big money every weekend. Why wouldn't you, But I definitely can say that it gets expensive, and I don't know how it can keep going at the rate that it's going. But it seems to be going.
The question I've always had for guys who come on here and who are primarily big money racers like yourself, do you wish that there would be more not necessarily down to 10s, because I mean, like the weekly races at a lot in the Southeast are 5s anyway, just your weekly points races. But like, do you wish they would ever go? It seems like they're always trying to push that $100,000 mark, right around that $100,000, $75,000, things like that. You ever wish they'd just go back to like what they were maybe 15 years ago, where there was like, a couple 50s a year and then a lot of 20s and things like that?
It was 10 granders pretty much all the time when I first started. Everywhere you went, you were racing for 10 grand. It was about $300 for the weekend. You could go double and take $1,000 with you, and you're shooting at 10 grand 3 days.
That's kind of what I always liked too, because I just feel like there's a lot more guys with $20 bills than $100 bills. You know what I mean?
Right. Now it's to the point if you go run 2 cars, you're spending $3-4 grand a weekend, and
right.
That's a lot of people's total income for a month,
Well, and I mean, a lot of times too, if George and I were talking the other day that, and I'm not saying anything bad about these races, for the amount of money they're paying, the entry fees are not bad for the amount of money they're paying. I'm not saying anything about that, but what I am saying is we saw a race the other day where the entry fee was, somewhere around $800 or something like that. I was like, man, I can race all month and do maintenance and buy fuel and put fuel in my truck and my generator and everything for that. And,
right.
And it's just really tough to blow that on 1 week, because I want to race every weekend,
right.
Or most.
Well, luckily, everybody, the drag racing world, I really think, though, champ, you're right about it. How much longer can we go on at this pace? And I think that the promoters are really starting to put their eyes on that particular fact. You are starting to see smaller, not necessarily smaller promoters, but smaller races. I know down here in Texas at I-30, I think the Cummings boys are putting on, Wannabe Promotions putting on a crazy 8s. And it's like $300 to double that joker for a whole weekend. So people are starting to understand. They're going to pack that place out. Everybody's going to show up for that $8 grand. That it's just affordable racing is something that I think we've gotten away from as far as for entry fees. And then the average guy, especially myself, I race on a budget, very much so.
Yeah.
So
definitely a market out there that is going to be tapped pretty soon, because I think there's going to be a lot more races like that. So the cheaper entry fees, the mid-range payouts, hitting with a little bit of round money, things like that are going to be showing up a little bit more. I think the stuff that Bogacki did too, the door car races, 150 car. I think the ones with caps that are actually a cap, these people that cap them at 500, that's not a cap.
Right.
That's look, everybody show up.
Right.
There's 500 of us. Let's race.
Right.
That's not really a cap. A cap's like 150, 200 cars, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And while you mentioned Bogaki's race, I'm just going to slide that flyer in here because it's coming up. The Summer Door Car Shootout that Luke's going to have on September 17th and 19th. I'm going to go ahead and slide that in here. He did take the cap off of it, which in my opinion, he told us on the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. If you want to go back, it's just a few episodes back there. But he said there's a few races going on in the area that made him want to take the cap off of it. I-57 drag strips under new management, which probably going to bolster the style of this race. It's going to be, number one, the track's going to be nuts. All right, it's going to be probably one of the best surfaces to do some bracket racing on, particularly because a bracket racer runs the track now. So it's not going to be hard to get a good track out there. So certainly, if you're in the area, anywhere near I-57 Speedway, anywhere close, I'd probably say 4 or 5 hours, and you got a door car, the door prizes alone are going to be spectacular at this race. So it will be one that I would say do your best to show up to if you're in the area and not going anywhere else. So
I think this is a good race. I'm looking at the flyer right now. I got this pulled up on my screen behind us. But it looks like the entry fee is a little higher than the typical 310s, but they give a lot of stuff away. He probably doesn't want to have it super cheap where he has too many cars that he can't park. So you raise their entry fee up a little bit more, and then you give everybody that comes a better experience. They got third round winners, look like they're getting paid, and a lot of prizes given away. So it's going to be a good deal for whoever shows up.
And I've personally raced at 2 or 3 of them, and I've never had a bad time. There's always great people at I-57 Drag Strip. Best part about I-57 Drag Strip, I'm telling you, go get the barbecue sandwich. I eat about 3 of them at a time usually whenever I'm there. They've always been good. Me and George grew up at that track, man. I've been there since I was 3 months old.
Yep.
And the concessions have always been awesome. And I can tell you for a fact that I can think of one time in my entire life, and I'm 34 now, I can think of one time in my entire life that track didn't hook. And that was because the dew was setting in at like 3 in the morning, and it might have been like October or something.
Yep, you were probably down to like 4. Probably down to like 4 because that used to be pretty that was common to leave that.
57 is 9 hours from my house.
Oh man, shoot, you got a long haul to get there, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
I'd love to go to a race like that, but I just had never made it up to that one.
Yeah.
You got a stacker, come by and pick me up on the way. You probably got to go past my house anyway. 64 goes right there.
Yep. No, and I'm about 9 hours out too, Steve, man. Down here in Texas, so that's a little too much of a haul for me. I might jump on a plane though and try to kick my dad out of the car or something, but that generally doesn't happen too easily. I'll stay home. No, Casey, what you got there?
So, Champ, now that we're talking about all these races and things like that anyway, is there a specific race that you look forward to going to every single year?
There's a couple of them probably. Definitely the Folk Million is just, even with all the big money races coming in and kind of doing similar things, it's still a different vibe when you get there, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of friendly people that run it, and always have a good time with that race. And
yeah, man.
What they're doing is really cool too. They're giving away a Camaro this year, so.
Yeah, definitely, man. I've always heard that the Folk Million's an awesome place to go to. I've always wanted to go to that. I've never made it there yet. Where are they having it at this year?
It's going to be at South Georgia Motorsports Park.
Nice.
Okay.
But that was nice to Georgia. I wouldn't complain.
Yeah. How far is that from your house?
It's about 4 hours.
So that isn't terrible. You can get there pretty quick. Just leave after breakfast one morning, just roll in.
Yep. I also like going to Bristol once a year. I guess the fling race is usually the one we go to just because it's the best, but it wouldn't matter what race it is, as long as we had it in Bristol, I'd go.
Speaking of Bristol, we were talking about that on the phone the other day whenever I was ordering parts from you over there at Chance Performance. But so tell us a little bit about Bristol, man. We were talking a little bit about, everybody always says Bristol's just crazy. It throws you curveballs, things like that. How true is that? Like, is it a driver's track? I guess I should say more so than a tuner's track. So a little bit of both.
It's definitely a tuner's track. People that got a little bit of an idea of how to change a couple things here and there to make their car a little better, and then it's definitely a driver's track too. It's gotten better though because the converters are looser now, and that helps in the bad air. and a lot of people figure that out now. So it's not really a secret anymore that you run a loose converter to Bristol. It's just, now it's a known fact. I always lean my stuff out just a little. A couple of my buddies, they go and they don't ever change anything, and they say their cars are just as good. So I do it for a little extra precaution, but I'm also going 730s, most of the time when I go. So leaning that car out, it helps it a little bit.
Speaking of Bristol, they have that 250K foot brake race, I think, this weekend. Don't they? Yeah, I was over. I was actually standing at the fence because, like I said, I ran into a brick wall second round again on Sunday. So I was just over there hanging out with some guys, and Steve Alford, who I'm pretty sure is actually on the top 5 list of most finals there.
Yep.
And then his brother Richard is right behind him as well. But I was over there talking to Steve because I had said, I was like, Richard's on the top, the top final rounds ever. He's like, no, I think I'm above him. He's right next to me though, or something like that. So I don't know if that's true or not, Steve, but he said he's going there.
Steve's been in a lot of finals there. I've definitely watched that over the years. That's always a fun race to watch too. I've always wanted to go to and race, but like you said, I mostly run top bulb stuff, and there's usually something on top of Jed's races, and that's the worst thing about it. I'd like to go to one.
The cool part about those big bottom bulb races, in my opinion, is you have all cars. It's kind of like a fast car show, and
Right.
and it seems like foot brake cars, not, just foot braking, typically are not as hard on equipment as leaving on a trans brake. You're not as hard on the transmission, not as hard on the rear end. You're not going extremely fast unless you're Kevin Pollard. And then again, I think I heard Justin Lamb might be building a blown roadster or something to potentially foot brake with. Is that true? Does anybody know?
I haven't heard.
That'd be good chat information there. And speaking of chat, Dylan James Green wants to ask Champ if he ever enjoys hitting smaller tracks here and there and just getting back into the small time scene over the big money scene. Getting a chance to maybe get out. I know right now you said your car's in the body shop there. Of course, it's taking longer, but I guess before you went to the shop, did you ever head out to your local track? Maybe I won't say beat up on them, but show them what you're made of. I guess that's a little bit better.
I do love that. That's actually what I've been kind of wanting to get back into some for next year when I get back on a pretty consistent schedule. Is I'm going to start sliding some double 5 granders and stuff like that, and locally, go race, take the girl with you, hang out on Saturday night, have a good time, load up on Sunday morning, and go home.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy a lot of that, and I didn't do very much of it before, but I think I'm gonna definitely start sliding some more of that in there.
I think that's pretty. It fits me. I'm not going to be able to do much big money bracket racing, but I've been to Ardmore just a couple of times now. I've actually taken my wife there with me one time, and she actually asked me, when are we going back? So that was her first time at a racetrack. So I mean, the scene at a racetrack, it's just that you know it because we all 3 of us know it because this is where we came up. All 40 of you guys in the chat know it because probably where you came up. But so getting back at the racetrack, just kind of on a smaller scale that's right up my alley. So I get your comment there for sure. Hey, that was a great question, by the way, and definitely thanks for asking there. But one thing we always ask here at Going Bracket Racing, and this is all opinion. Everybody has an opinion. It's okay. Don't get mad at anybody in the chat. But who is the greatest drag racer, bracket racer of all time, in your opinion?
Man, that's loaded.
Loaded? He's like, no. No.
There ain't no right answer there, man. It's just, it changes. It does.
Okay.
No one person, I think, is the greatest of all time. I think it goes through different stages where, some people are dominating more and more and more. I think Scotty definitely dominated the most in the longest period of time. But I think I've just watched it over the years and it just moves, Obviously, you're going to have some guys that are more consistent and they still show up year after year. But I don't have my number one. I don't have one.
You got a top 5?
It's tough. Yeah, give us a top 5, champ. Give us a top 5. That's
got
a
a top
good
5, champ?
Yep.
Not in any particular order. Just name 5 people.
5 people.
Well, I've already mentioned Scotty just because of what he did. for a long time. You know, he definitely ruled the world for a good while. You know, Troy and Gary were right there with him. They were both. It was, you go to a race where Troy, Gary, and Scotty were at back in the early 2000s or late 90s, and they're winning 2 of the 3 days. They're winning 2 of the 3 days, pretty much. You know,
Everybody else go home.
when I first started racing, one of the guys I really looked up to and watched a lot, that I learned a lot from, was Bugatti. So I'd say he's in my top 5 for sure. And let's see who we rounding that out with. Man, I really don't know. There's so many. It's like a tie in my head. You know, I don't. That's my top 4 anyway.
Well, and it's tough, man, because the thing is, if you just look at the last, I would say since Motor Mania has been around, because that's when people really started watching and paying attention and stuff. I mean, just since Motor Mania has been around, like there was a year you would say Johnny Ezel, and then there was a year you would say Nick Hastings, and then now this year and last year for that matter, you'd say Jeff Serra, you know,
right.
and you know,
I don't list. You know, it always rotates and it changes, and then some people come back to it. Like they'll go away for a few years, and then you'll see them right back in it again. But I definitely think Hastings is a bad dude. He has more focus than I've seen out of hardly anybody. He don't make mistakes hardly at all. He's just very, very consistent, and if you beat him, you had to beat him. Jeff's the same way. He's really solid all the time. Jeff's super aggressive, and he's found a way to make that work without turning it red a lot.
That's what I was actually going to say, is that Sarah, it's almost like, from what I've been watching, it's like if he leaves and it's green, then you might as well just let off. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to beat him on the finish line. You're just not. I mean, it's impossible to beat Sarah on the finish line. I mean, we got people over here, Peter Biondo, of course. Everybody knows that. I mean, I don't know, you'd fill up an entire 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with just names, but I mean, Gary Williams, he's consistently in the winner's circle all the time.
Even still.
Gary, since, I mean, as far back as I can consider, Gary's been consistently in the winner's circle, you know, every year for as long as I can remember. Gary's probably he's probably the best if I had to pick one, because he's never faded away. He's never had. When have you seen Gary Williams have an off year where he didn't win something? You know.
Right. Well, there was. I heard a podcast like years ago. Now I remember actually, because I was doing a site survey in an old Catholic school that had been built onto like 5 times since the 20s, and it like had a bomb shelter sign outside and stuff like that for the Cold War and all that. It was a creepy place, but anyway, I remember where I was standing. I was hearing either Troy or Gary was getting interviewed, and at one point, one of them said Gary hadn't won a race for like 3 months or something, and he was like, "Oh crap, I might have to get a real job or something."
Yeah. Yep.
No.
But, go ahead, George.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good stuff, though. And like you said, I can remember being younger, especially in my teen years, where Gateway would have the 50 grander, the super mega bucks, and things like that. Gary and Troy show up and turn that place upside down with the Seymour boys and all these other guys who are no slouches themselves. So it's always tough to make a top 5. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd avoid that question at all costs. I don't have a top 5 myself because it's a moving pendulum. It's moving.
You can go and go and go with that,
buddy. Yep.
Be a 3-hour-long conversation for sure, but
and all it's just arguments over whose opinion's what, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's more of a conversation around the cooler in about January when no one can go racing, I think.
Right.
It'd be pretty fun to have it with who we would consider the top drivers in our sport. Just all of us sitting around a campfire or whatever and shooting the breeze and letting each other tell us why they're the best. That would be fun to just be a fly on the wall. You know, all of them amongst each other, the meeting of the minds and the greats. And
I'll just go hide in the back and listen.
I got a question here out of Julius Pruitt. He says, I'm interested to know if Champ's driving routine, he's interested in knowing your driving routine and thought process, if it changes when you're going 450 as opposed to going 730. So do you have the same thought process, or does things get a little different, is what Julius Pruitt's asking.
It's different.
Yep.
It's definitely different. My driving routine, I try to keep it the same pretty much no matter what I'm driving. I mean, obviously there's a different burnout routine going from the door car to the dragster, but aside from that, when I back up behind the pre-stage or when I pull up to the pre-stage, I pretty much go through the same routine no matter what I'm driving. Try to put my hand in the same position and all that good stuff. Nothing. Try to keep it all similar there. But as far as going from that speed to that speed, I drive a lot different. I don't know if anybody's watched me too much, but I like to hold a little bit in the dragsters, and then the Trans Am, I try to do different stuff with it. I dial for nitrous a lot in it. I've got it where it'll spray on the timer to pick up 200s if I decide that I need to be holding a little bit that run after I leave. So I've played with a lot of things that make me more of a dialer in that car. And then in the dragster, I'm not as much of a dialer. I'm more of a put down a run based off of what they're putting down.
Chips in your hand when you're in a dragster, basically, is what you're saying.
I try to hold my destiny in my hand in the dragster. In the door car, I try to do all the prep work beforehand to make the car good, and then just try to let go when it comes on.
Well, there you have it, Julius. That was actually a really good question. Thanks for chiming in there. And I've always kind of wondered that myself, and man, I just never thought to ask it. I don't know why, but that was a great question. Thanks for that.
Definitely, man.
What you got next, Casey?
I was just going to say we're coming up on that hour, and we don't want to take a whole bunch of Champ's time here tonight. Me and him being on the East Coast, getting close to 6 o'clock, time to go get some food and some other things. But who do you got to thank before you get off here, man?
Man, I just want to thank everybody that takes care of me. Honestly, in the business world, a lot of the manufacturers that I deal with directly, still dealing with FTI. APD takes really great care of me. Their customer service with me is awesome. K&R, Mickey Thompson has been with me for a lot of years now, and I obviously sell a ton of their tires. Man, just a lot of the companies that you see on the side of my race cars. Those are the people we try to keep that. And it's not just because they give me stuff. It's because they have great customer service, and they take care of their customers, and they take care of me whenever I order through them. So that's the people I like to thank.
Definitely, man. And I'll say it again, man. Speaking of great customer service, you have great customer service. Anytime that I text, or, I've only called you the one time, but anytime I text you and say, hey, can you get me this? I mean, it's literally like 5-10 minutes, and you get back to me. Yeah, I can get you this, and this is the price. I can get it to you in a couple days. So everybody that's watching this or watching it later or listening to it on the podcast or any of that stuff, definitely check out Chance Performance and make sure he doesn't have something before you look for it somewhere else, because he'll get it to you quick. And, if you ever need help with anything, he's always ready to help you.
Yeah, I try to take care of everybody on price. I have a little racer discount that I give everybody. You don't have to sign up for it. You don't have to be. You just got to order through me, and you get a small discount that everybody gets. It's not biased to anybody. If you're a customer of Chance Performance, then you're a friend of mine. So I take care of you best I can, just like if you were my best friend.
That's pretty awesome. You heard it here, guys. Definitely, again, I did leave the Champ Performance, and I'll make sure to tag it again, the Facebook page there. And if you guys have any questions, I know you can hear us on the podcast as well. Feel free to reach out to Going Bracket Racing. We'll get you in contact with Champ if you guys need something, or at least point you to the webpage or the Facebook page there.
To champsperformance.com, and I'm the only one that takes care of it. Really, I keep it updated and try to keep adding parts to it all the time. It's not full. It doesn't have everything that I carry. It's just got a small fraction of what I can actually get. But there are some things on there, and you can check it out through there. And if you don't see something you need, then hit me up on the Facebook page.
Yeah, definitely give him a call, because, for example, those lifters that I couldn't find anywhere, they're not on his website. So I said, hey, Champ, this is the part number. Can you get them for me? And he hit me back and said, yep, I can get them for you. So hit him up before you check anywhere else.
Well, there's so many lifters out there. It would take me, I'm one, it would take me forever to list everybody's, all the different brands and all the different styles for each type of motor. It would take me forever to list all that. So I try to put the most common stuff that I sell on there, and then anything that's a little bit, oddball, then just hit me up for it, and I'll take care of you.
Definitely, man. Well, we can't thank you enough for being on here with us, man. It's been great getting to know you. Yes, sir. It's been great getting to know you, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me already, and I'm sure I'll be in contact with you in the future. living this close, I'm sure I'll see you around.
Right.
I appreciate it, sir.
That's likewise. Thanks. So,
Thanks,
guys, thanks you for tuning in. As we come to the end of our show, you know we're going to give a little respect to the races coming up, the guys who come on board going bracket racing, help us deliver this show to you guys every now and again. Hopefully, we'll have some giveaways coming out here pretty soon for you. But for now, we'll see you guys next Tuesday.